People were associating me with that Duke the Jeweler situation because I went to the Boosie pool party. And he happened to be there and he happened to be standing on me.
Boosie Boaz just rocked the scene. He reportedly took a federal plea, and the streets are buzzing that it could put Jay Prince and that infamous Dice clique under a microscope fast. Nothing confirmed yet, but the chatter is loud and the timing is crazy. If those whispers got any weight, this ain't just a simple gun case anymore. It could crack open an alleged high-stakes dice hustle that's been catching rappers slipping for years. Word is the same agents who probed the homicide of Duke the Jeweler and the dice nights before he was ended are retracing every single name tied to those evenings, Boosie included. Now that he's cutting a deal, everybody's asking the same thing, self-preservation or cooperation, because there's a big difference when paperwork starts flying. Is he just trying to save himself? Or is he ready to drop names that could shake one of the most feared circles in hip-hop to its core? And here's where it gets extra tense. If even a slice of the talk is accurate, critics who've long accused Jay Prince of pushing Houston's check-in culture say real federal heat could finally show up.
Everybody in Texas know what the play is. If you rap it, you celebrity. If you like the strip club, you like to do this, you check in with them, they bringing them bad dice on you. Why you think they Duke the Jeweler, they really couldn't get him? That's why they had to come on, homie.
To be clear, these are allegations and online speculation. No official confirmation or charges on this specific theory have been announced as far as the public knows. Fans are already reading between the lines, wondering if Boosie just put mob ties on the table by accident or on purpose. And that question alone has the internet pacing the floor. Folks want answers, and the rumor mill is spinning like a block party speaker. Either way, this whole storm keeps circling back to that dice setting where Duke lost his life, and that's where people keep pointing. If you've been in Houston long enough, you've heard about those friendly dice games that somehow, allegedly, lean to the house more often than not. And that's exactly why this story won't sit still. Dice games been part of the city's underworld forever, but the sets people link to Jay Prince Jr. get talked about like a whole different beast. High stakes, invite only, big bread on the felt, plus a check-in vibe so the room is controlled tight, allegedly. None of this is proven in court, but that's the word people keep tossing around in barbershops and comment sections. The streets swear there's a playbook. Pull in rappers and high rollers to a private backroom, keep the liquor smooth, stack the cash tall, and let the dice do the talking, allegedly. Charleston spoke on it too, but most brushed it off like background noise till clips and rumors started looping again. Folks claim the operation runs like a perfectly oiled machine. 3-man rotation. One rolls, one holds, one swaps, while the cubes ain't fresh out the shrink wrap, allegedly. They say the bones are prepped, weighted, shaved, and tweaked, just enough to lean the odds where the house wants them without making it obvious to a casual eye. Again, that's street talk, not verified facts. The story goes the house is designed to eat and a certain someone takes a slice. Whispers say around 30%, though nobody has put public paperwork on that number or shown solid proof, so take it as unconfirmed chatter, not gospel. Still, that rumor alone got timelines going crazy because the math would turn a hot night at the table into real quiet pockets for everyone else. Then came the night everything supposedly went sideways. The night Duke the Jeweler stepped in, no rookie energy at all, fresh from a Boosie show, wearing heavy ice and walking with certified confidence. Somehow, again, according to talk, Duke gets his hands on dice that weren't meant for him, and suddenly the table flips vibe. He starts cooking, first a few racks, then stack after stack till he's reportedly up near 100 grand. You can see the shift in the footage people pass around. The easy smiles fade, heads dip for whispers, posture tightens. Because when a room is set up for you to lose, a win like that doesn't feel like luck to the folks running it. At least that's how the streets tell it. It spiraled fast. Minutes later, Duke is headed to his car. No security, no crew, just him. And the silence snaps with gunfire. Before anyone can even process the chaos, he's gone. And that's what makes this feel different. His jewelry stays on, cash untouched, like somebody wanted power, not pockets. And that night, Duke shattered somebody's grip on the room's control. Duke the Jeweler wasn't some random name tossed in a rumor thread. He was a respected Chicago craftsman with a superstar client list and custom pieces worth serious money. His reputation was clean, his presence big, and you'd see him at hip-hop events smiling, networking, and delivering quality work. So when Boosie invited him to Houston, this looked like straight business. At least, that's how Duke read it. We already laid it out. Duke gets ambushed walking to his car in that parking lot. And the detail that made Federal browse lift was simple and chilling. Every single piece of his jewelry was still on him. Even the Louis Vuitton bag, reportedly stuffed with over $1 million in custom work, didn't leave with him, which only deepened the suspicion that this wasn't some random stick-up gone wrong. That bag turns up at Boogie's house, and Boogie's explanation is that Duke asked him to hold it during the game. Then after the shooting, it just remained in his possession, plain and simple. But the timeline is messy. Duke's phone goes dark right after pinging near Boogie's recording studio, and investigators say surveillance, text threads, and witness statements place Boosie's circle close to Duke's final hours, which is why eyebrows keep rising across the board. Authorities have reportedly focused on Boogie's nephew as a possible shooter, according to people familiar with the probe. And instead of folding this into Boosie's other legal smoke, they spun Duke's death into its own standalone federal homicide investigation for undivided attention. None of these claims are proven in court, but that's exactly why the Louis Vuitton bag isn't just luggage in this story. It's a spotlight, a timeline marker, and a potential key that could show who knew what and when if the evidence lines up. It might be the very thing that put Boogie's name in federal folders, and that's exactly why this turn feels dangerous for Boosie. Some folks think his plea might not be just about that 2023 gun case at all. None of this is courtroom fact yet, but the pattern got people talking loud. Prosecutors didn't bundle Duke the jeweler's death into Boosie's other legal smoke. They split it on purpose, which is a classic pressure play in the federal handbook. When they isolate a case, they keep the heat laser focused and build leverage, offer a little mercy on one file if you give solid answers on another, and the Duke situation carries landmines for Boogie's camp, allegedly. Start with the digital trail. Investigators say Duke's phone, the last breadcrumb of his movement, pinged near Boosie's recording spot before it went dark, and that's not a detail feds ignore. Then you've got chatter about physical traces found in Duke's rental, allegedly linked to people in Boosie's inner circle. And when you stack that with witness statements, it explains why the circle keeps tightening. Here's the part nobody can control, the rumors. Word is, some folks around Boosie are already talking, and in Fed land it only takes one person to crack before it snowballs fast. Stories shift, timelines twist, and the safest play becomes giving investigators what they want, because that's how these cases pick up speed. So picture Boosie at the table. Federal gun case on one side, a separate homicide probe on the other, and whispers that members of the crew might be flipping. And suddenly cutting a deal starts looking like the only clean exit. And if there's a flip, the obvious targets in the narrative are limited. J. Prince Jr., or his father, J. Prince, two names the internet keeps circling. Add in how two of the most high-profile dice nights tied to Jr.'s orbit have already drawn heavy scrutiny. And you can see why the pressure is peaking from every angle. One night ended in tragedy. Duke the jeweler was gone just hours after leaving a game. And takeoff ended right outside another. Different nights, different details, same cold pattern that keeps repeating before sunrise. Big money, big names, and then sirens. That's the grim loop people keep pointing to across the culture. Industry voices aren't whispering, they're loud. Whack 100 has openly accused J. Prince Jr. of running dangerous setups that lure high-profile rappers into games they can't win unless the house lets them. And that claim shook timelines like a quake. You already heard Charleston White too. He called those dice nights traps run with loaded dice and tight control, where one wrong roll or the wrong win can put a target on your back before you even cash out. None of this is proven in court, and everyone needs to remember these are allegations and opinions, not established facts. Put together, it paints an underworld where trust feels like smoke, and the real moves happen in the shadows. Power plays, quiet pressure, and rooms where the house never blinks first. And here's where it gets even riskier. If Boosie really talks and starts naming names from the inside, that so-called check-in culture people say has shaped Houston for years could get shaken to the core overnight. Once you bring up check-in, the background chatter gets louder, because it's not just the streets reacting. There's word some artists are quietly pulling back from Houston stops altogether, skipping shows or appearances where mob ties might be in the mix. Nothing official on paper, but the energy says folks are choosing distance over drama when the guest list feels too political. For the record, Jay Prince Sr. has denied there's any rule about having to check in, and that matters for fairness. Still, insiders claim the pressure is real, just more subtle now, supposedly moving through Jay Prince Jr.'s network. And after 2 high-profile deaths tied to dice settings in the public conversation, even some of the bravest names in hip-hop are asking a hard question: is the shine worth the risk tonight? Fear in this story isn't just about stray bullets. It's about power moves and politics in dimly lit rooms where one handshake can haunt your whole career. Veterans in hip-hop have been warning the young bulls for months. Avoid the Houston dice scene, because once you step in, it's bigger than wins and losses. It's about who's beside you when the energy flips ugly, and whose name gets dragged when cameras pop on. Take Finesse 2 Times, for example. He went from standing next to Jay Prince Jr. to airing out bad blood in public, saying he got shorted on money and hinting at behind-the-scenes disrespect, which set timelines buzzing loud. Then came the rumor mill with talk of a baby mama situation, true or not, piling cracks onto a partnership that already looked shaky from the outside. Whether those claims are accurate or just messy chatter, the narrative caught heat. People saying Jay Prince Jr. is losing allies faster than replacements can be made, at least in the court of public opinion. And it isn't only artists feeling that pressure. Labels are watching with binoculars because the dice game headlines and the violence around them can flip a whole rollout upside down overnight. Executives know one ugly clip can tank months of marketing, and no brand wants to be one Instagram live away from a crisis scene with police tape and trending hashtags. That's why whispers say teams are steering clear of any event that even smells like controversy. And if Boosie really starts naming names, folks believe the splash won't stop at Houston. It'll ripple through the whole game fast. So let's slow it down and look at Mob Ties, the name that keeps getting tossed around online, even though much of what's said lives in speculation, not court records. Public chatter is loud, but behind the curtain, people claim the feds are working a broader play that could touch Houston's own police network, which is why the city's been on edge lately. Recent federal sweeps in Houston have taken down full drug operations and violent crews, with agencies like the FBI, DEA, ATF, and ICE coordinating with HPD in joint actions, according to official briefings and news reports. Those moves weren't about pinching small fish. They were about dismantling the ladder, street shooters at the bottom, money movers at the top, showing a blueprint for how to clip an entire tree at the root. If investigators ever decide to point that same strategy at anyone tied to these nightlife dice rooms, the pressure could scale fast. That's the quiet fear you hear in backrooms. Because once federal playbooks open, politics matter as much as the dice ever did. Whispers in Houston say there are already unsealed warrants floating around the crew, the kind that flip into arrests overnight if the right name pops up. With HPD's Criminal Intelligence Division working shoulder to shoulder with federal task forces, every link, every favor, every off-the-record move in that network is under a bright light right now. And honestly, all it might take to crack the whole thing open is one solid piece of evidence, like a leaked clip from those dice nights that actually shows faces and movements. If something drops that confirms who sat in the room, who stacked the money, or who gave the green light for certain plays, it stops being barbershop talk and turns into case-closing material fast. That's why Boosie's position looks dangerous if he's really cooperating, because protection from investigators can help in court. But in the street, it can paint a target on your back quick. The second people think you're feeding the other side, your name jumps from quiet whispers to bold threats. And that's a different kind of pressure altogether, which is why so many folks are tense right now. What do you think? Does this end with receipts or more rumors? Drop your take below, tap like, hit subscribe, and share this with someone who needs the update, and we'll keep digging into it together. See you on the next one.